All right, everybody. I believe we are going to be talking to LeVar Burton now. So thank you very much for joining us.
Has the handover happened? Hello, LeVar. Oh my goodness, there he is. We can't hear him yet. Sorry, LeVar. 1 second. Our guys are just going to turn speakers on. Let's try that again.
Desert Bus, can you hear me?
Yay!
Have you any idea how many desert buses there are on Skype?
I did not know that was a common name.
I have communicated with strangers that are awfully damn surprised.
Probably pleased too.
Wow.
Be like, you just tune in and it's like, why is LeVar Burton calling me?
What? Who? Oh no! I just put that up there to support. Sorry to disturb. Have a good day.
Well, it's awfully cool to see you. Thank you for joining us today. And I know you've got a packed schedule, but yeah, we're super happy to have you here joining us. We actually have we had a donation. Somebody kicked in a Reading Rainbow Kickstarter lot of the backer prizes as a donation for us to auction off again. And so we're having a donation drive to raise more donations based on the wonderful things you create for us. So your generosity and their generosity is helping us as well.
It is the circle of giving.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So we have been collecting a few questions from people who are watching things, and hoping we could talk to you a little bit about some stuff.
I'm a little nervous, but okay, go ahead.
They are screened beforehand.
Yeah.
Aha, okay, very good. All right, cool.
I mean, I guess the first thing to talk about is the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter and how well that turned out and so amazing. And were you surprised that the outpouring of?
Surprised, it doesn't even begin to get there. We were overwhelmed, and allow me to, number one, say thank you to everybody who contributed. This very moment that we're sharing here is a part of that circle that I spoke about a moment ago. We were tremendously surprised and as I say, literally overwhelmed. Going into the Kickstarter, we were hoping to raise $1 million. Raising far more than that was certainly an unexpected bounty. But the amount of work that the fulfillment of the Kickstarter rewards has turned out to be was also a huge surprise. So if there's anybody out there who is still not received their reward package, please know that we are working feverishly. We've had so many things happen. Federal Express trucks setting on fire, things that we never could have anticipated that have prevented 100% fulfillment. Well, we're getting close. I'm having dinners with people left, right, and center. We're getting there, but even we had no idea it would be as complicated and as logistically complex as it actually has been.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've done our own crowdfunding type stuff, and yeah, that is. I think a lot of people underestimate that aspect of it.
Yeah. It is. It's an amazing thing, and as I say, we are dedicated, committed to getting it done. 100% fulfillment, which brings me to the work that we've been able to do as a result of the Kickstarter campaign and the generosity of all of you folks. We are now on the web, not just an app, but we're on the web, and we are in beta testing for what we call Skybrary School, our digital library in a package that's designed for teachers to use in the classroom. And of course, that is the product that we have promised to give away to 10,000 classrooms in North America, and so that's the work that you guys have funded.
It's like I grew. This is going to be weird because maybe we're all dating ourselves. I grew up watching Reading Rainbow because up in Canada we can get PBS, and so I grew up watching Reading Rainbow, and then of course immediately fell into watching Star Trek: Next Generation after that. So that was an excellent bridge to be able to see that. And it's you spend a lot of time acting and you spend a lot of time in front of the camera, but you also spend a lot of time behind the camera as well. because you have your own production company too. Are you guys still developing more like entertainment that way, or is your focus been really awfully on Reading Rainbow?
Well, the Reading Rainbow and the business of Reading Rainbow has really taken up the lion's share of our time these past 3, going on 4 years now. We are finally beginning to have enough bandwidth to begin to get back to what was initially our core business, which was motion picture and television production. And so we have some pretty exciting things that I can't reveal yet. But we are really excited about a project that we are engaged in that's going to combine 2 major franchises in education, in the service of terrific content for children and their families.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't have school-age children yet, but I'm hoping to one day, and that I want to expose them to all of that good stuff too. So looking forward to that. More questions, Paul?
Yeah, this someone saying is I'm a woman who works in a STEM field who grew up in poverty, and your character Jordy inspired me to go into technology, and I was also inspired by Reading Rainbow to love reading for my entire life. So thank you very much. And my question for you is, who inspired you most to make a difference in the world and to help children, especially those less fortunate?
That's a real easy question. My mom, Irma Jean, is a primary inspiration of my life. My mom was an English teacher, and I think most importantly, she didn't just read to me when I was a kid. She read in front of me. My mom is a voracious reader, has always 2, 3 books going for her own personal enjoyment. So growing up in a household where reading was, a normal everyday activity. In fact, it was pretty much insisted upon. In my mom's house, you either read a book or she hit you in the head with one. It really, it didn't matter. You were going to have an encounter with the written word in Irma Jean's household. So I always cite my mom as the primary example and influence that introduced me to my love of the written word. And of course, she spent a second part of her working life as a social worker. So I did grow up with the idea that one's life should be about service. That service is the thing that we are meant to do.
Did you have when you were younger, did you have a personal library, or did you actually use the public library?
Yes, both. I mean, growing up, I had a small personal library, but we were not a wealthy family by any stretch of the imagination, and so public libraries. We moved around a lot. My father was in the military. Public libraries really became some of my favorite places on earth, and still are. I love the feeling of wandering stacks in a good library.
There's a question here from Andrew who asks or says, as an advocate for literacy in children with Reading Rainbow, and you're currently a guest on a video game-based telethon, what is your opinion about video games as a tool not only to teach future youth of today, but as a focus for that education in place of, say, the classic literature that was used previously in early education?
Well, I don't think we're there yet in terms of the language of gaming and the storytelling that we do in gaming replacing classic literature. I think that in fact most storytelling in gaming is inspired by and has its roots in classic literature. Look, I'm a big fan of gaming. I have a daughter who is 21, and it was how we bonded as she was growing up. We started with CD-ROM games like Pajama Sam and graduated to Tomb Raider and the like, and she is now a gamer, a girl gamer herself, and a cosplayer, and I'm enormously proud of her and how she expresses herself personally and artistically. So I'm a big fan of gaming. I think that everything in balance is a good thing. I definitely believe that all media influences are educational. The question I always ask is, so what are we teaching, right? So what are we teaching? So it is important to always remember that there should be balance in all things, and that the tendency that to lock ourselves in the cave and not come out to do anything, to watch TV, to game, to even read anything out of balance, out of proportion, is unhealthy for the human animal. So gaming, like all things, must be consumed and enjoyed in a balanced manner.
And so those kind of things, you should be able to ask yourself a question like, I'm consuming this thing, but what am I consuming it for, and what are the things that I'm getting out of it as well? And be able to ask those questions of your kids and of other people that like, build those questions into the things that you consume as well.
What is this doing for me? How am I interacting with it? How is it contributing to my greater growth and good? And then, and what do I give back to this thing that gives to me? How do I really interact with it on the mega level? How do I interact with the culture of which I am a part, and does it serve me socially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically? Is this, am I expressing myself in a healthy and balanced way?
Awesome.
This is a question that I think could be relevant to a lot of us who are of the somewhat geeky persuasion. Someone's saying, I finally got my son, who's 7, into reading, and not just video games. But apparently the book that did it was a Connecticut, a Yankee in King Arthur's court. But he's saying says he wants to read more time travel and sci-fi books. But how do I, as an old sci-fi nerd myself, not overwhelm him with all the books that I read as a kid that I really want to share with him, but don't want to scare him off?
I totally understand. Yeah, you just take it real slow. You've introduced him to the idea of fantastic fiction and amazing realities being expressed through the imagination. That's really what it's all about for me. Why I am such a fan of science fiction and fantasy is that it invites us into the realm of the what if, which are, I believe, the two most potent words in combination in language. What if? And it is by contemplating the what if that we are able to really invent the world in which we live. There is nothing that we can think of. I mean, I know there was some kid who grew up watching the original Star Trek episodes and kept seeing Kirk reach back to that Velcroed place on his hip because there are no pockets in the future. I know, I've been there. And Kirk would pull out that communicator, he would flip it open and call Scotty to beam him up. And that kid grew up, became a scientist, an engineer, a designer of product, and is responsible for a piece of technology that is more prevalent on the planet today than the bread toaster. Because all of us, myself included, have all used or seen someone use a flip cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Because that which we contemplate, that which we imagine, focus our imaginations upon, is that which we manifest in this realm. It's how human beings are hardwired. And science fiction literature is really one of the most direct conduits to really, as I say, invite us into that realm of the imagination.
LeVar, it's like, so I've been up since last night driving this bus here, so I'm not terribly erudite at the moment, but you are like the coolest dude. So thank you for that. We know that
I think you are actually being influenced by the lack of REM sleep in that statement, but I thank you nonetheless.
And so just to be clear, I mean, we've had you on here for a little while. I mean, if you have to go, we are more than happy to let go. You let us know when you got to leave, but we're more happy to throw a few more questions at you and talk some more.
Few more questions. I'm here in New York for the National Book Awards later on this afternoon. I've got some other work to do and a few more phone calls to make. I'm so happy though to be with you all on the bus this morning. What you are doing is tremendously important, and you guys have a real track record of success here. You are really you're making a difference in the world, and you're doing it through gaming, which I think is just the coolest shit going.
And
thank you.
And I mean, we can talk about the charity that we're working for, Child's Play, does also it sends video games, but also books and games
right.
and all sorts of things to kids in children's hospitals
yeah.
And
and
children's
in
hospitals, right. So you guys and
shelters.
Rooster Teeth, you guys are you are my heroes. You guys you understand not just the power of what it is you do, but the value of what it is that can be done when you put your mind and your heart to it.
All right. Well, I mean, this is probably an impossible question, but someone is asking.
We love you. We've loved you a long, long, long time. I watched Reading Rainbow as a kid. My kids love SNG. And we are so grateful to have you be part of this, to help us raise this money we're raising for kids.
Yeah.
So it is awesome. Thank you.
Really my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, carry on with the nerd questions. They have more
Well,
important nerd questions.
so it's saying, well, it's an impossible question, but it's saying if you, what's a children's book that you could preserve, if you could preserve it for future generations, what would it be?
Wow, there are so many. The book that I like to reference as the book that I was reading when the light bulb went on for me, when I really got what reading was. That reading was really it was a transporter device, right? Was Captain's Courageous by Rudyard Kipling, and you know I reread the book not too many years ago, and it wasn't the epic adventure that I remembered it to be. I mean, it is an adventure, but it's not great literature. But what happened for me was that I was literally transported. I was so enraptured with that world that when I finished that book, I experienced a profound and tremendous sadness. And to this day, when I am reading a particularly great piece of fiction, I consciously slow down those last few chapters to forestall that inevitable depression that sets in when I'm leaving a world that I have totally bought into and successfully, imagined in my own mind. So I love that as a classical piece of literature. When recommending contemporary children's books, I always like to talk about Amazing Grace by Mary Hoffman and Enemy Pie by Derek Munson, two tremendously valuable pieces of literature for children for their own reasons. One talks about the power of the imagination in this character, Grace, who wants to be Peter Pan in her school play. She's a young black girl, and some of her classmates don't believe that she should be Peter Pan or can be Peter Pan because she's a girl and she's black, and Grace proves everybody wrong. Enemy Pie is a great little story about a young boy who has an enemy in his neighborhood, and his father helps him resolve his problem by making enemy pie. And the boy can't imagine what wonderfully horrible ingredients are going to be put into enemy pie to poison this kid to death. And
it's dark.
Well, it is, but it has a great surprise ending. You won't see it coming, or maybe you will, but you'll appreciate it nonetheless. So, Amazing Grace, Mary Hoffman, Enemy Pie, Derek Munson. If I could preserve those books, and that's the thing about books, they are in fact time capsules in and of themselves. They will be around for millennia. I believe as we move forward in more and more into the digital realm, we will tend to print books less. We will print fewer books. I mean, let's face it, we cannot sustain the effort of making books out of trees indefinitely. It's an unsustainable practice. So we will consume more of our literature from the digital realm. But I think it'll cause us to, really hold more preciously dear those books that we do have. I mean, I've got books stashed everywhere around so many places, storage facilities, boxes full of books, and that's really not the best way to show my appreciation for the treasures that they are. So I believe that, we will print fewer books. We'll always print books. It's an indelible part of who we are as a species. But we will definitely consume much more of our reading in the digital realm going forward.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because the game we are playing, Desert Bus, is part of an unreleased set of mini games that Penn and Teller developed for the Sega CD way back when. This was never supposed to come out, and it was something that would have been lost to time if somebody hadn't taken it, put it up on the internet at some point, and then we got a hold of it and we played it. And God willing, the hardware and the software will hold out and we'll be able to play it forever. I don't know why I said that would be a great idea, but
seemed like a good idea at the time.
As it came out of my mouth, it did. But it's like,
yeah,
I understand where you're coming from, because we're already losing digital stuff to the ages, and books are one of those things that's like, you can get a book from 1,000 years ago and be like, well, we can make sense of this, we can read it, and there's a lot of value in preserving hard copies of books, and I hope that we get to have both of those when we go forward. You can't have a hard copy of a game, really, so.
No, and my Sega Dreamcast, I so wish they were still publishing games for that platform.
So if there's anybody enterprising out there who wants to develop a new Dreamcast game, LeVar's probably your market.
I am absolutely. I loved that platform. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, just one more question. That we'll let you go. This is something that we've been asking everybody who calls in around. We're trying to collect what we're calling a $9 nemesis, which is the I guess what superhero, if you were a supervillain, what superhero would you be the nemesis of? That's sort of turning the what kind of a superhero would you want to be question on its head.
Let's see. Well, I was a huge fan, even though it hasn't gotten a lot of love, appropriate love, in the modern incarnation of comics. I was a huge Green Lantern fan when I was a kid, and so I would want to be the nemesis of Green Lantern, and I would just be called Stone. Just Stone.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and we're almost on our way to reaching $165,000 so far this run.
You guys rock.
Thanks.
You really do.
So,
you are all awesome individuals, every single one of you. I so appreciate you. I believe in you. Stay up and stay on that bus, y'all. Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, LeVar.
Thank you.
All righty, y'all.
All right. So thank you very much to the awesome LeVar Burton, who I believe he went longer than he was technically supposed to on that call. So thank you very much for him doing that.
And I mean, I was kind of like, do I not ask him, but do I tell him my stupid jokey comment thing that I mentioned earlier, or do we just let it go out on a really good note and then be like, and I think I'm fine without it. I don't want to have to mention it, so that's all right.
Yeah.
God, that was fun.
That was good.
Oh, wow. That was my first call-in ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the first one I've ever been present for. I think, like...
Yeah, we usually hide you away when people call in.
I usually start working here so late that it's always like we've completed a call. Like, I think I came in one time when... Oh, no, I did come in when Harrison was up one time. So I got this... And he's here now, apparently. Yeah. He'll be here this week, so that'll be cool.
Well, how long are you sticking around for? 'Cause